Welcome everybody, this is going to be my review on what is supposed to be a Mercedes Benz G500 AMG, and what I mean by supposed to be, you're going to find out in just one moment. This set right here consists of about 1,300 pieces, and it cost me roughly about $59.99. Wow, what do I mean by supposed to be a G500 wagon? Well, because this is an unlicensed set, Lego or Technic has nothing to do with it, though it is made out of aftermarket Technic parts. It does not have the right to have any kind of legitimate name as Mercedes or AMG or anything like that. The official name of this is a Benz, B-A-N-Z, G500 AWG. And what do I mean by that? Well, any licensed product by Lego, whether they use a vehicle, for example the Bugatti, the Porsche, or the ZR1 Corvette, they're gonna pay just a tiny little bit of their profit portion to the company that they base their vehicle on. In this case, this must have been somebody who made their product either in the basement or who knows where, and the company must have just flat out stolen their idea and thus, just to make a couple of pennies, marketed it, but they do not have the right to put any kind of manufacturer's name because they're not giving them any kind of profit to what they're selling. So in reality, this is what you see right here. As you can see, it's a BANZ G500 and the AMG emblem is AWG. So completely just revisioned for them to be able to sell. Now, a couple of things off the back. It definitely does not look bad. It's a pretty decent looking vehicle, but as I always say, when you go off-brand, you have a price to pay beyond the price itself. In this case, the reason I bought it was because a little while ago I purchased my first off-brand Technic set, which was a 919 Porsche race car, and I paid about 70 bucks for it, and it's about 1,500 pieces, and it was a phenomenal build. It literally almost felt like I was building a Lego, and I had a ton of fun doing it. So I went to the same seller on Amazon to see what else he offered, and there was only a couple of other vehicles that he offered, and I saw this guy for right around $49.99, so I decided to purchase it. When I received it, I definitely opened it up and started to build, and right away I noticed it was definitely not the same aftermarket company that built the first one that I purchased. As far as the pins, they don't completely fit the way they're supposed to into the beams. It's very difficult to put parts together, and I truly could not say I had any fun actually putting this together. Quality wise was absolutely horrible. It took me about 5 to 6 hours to get it together, and I managed to do it considering I did have to use some real marketed Lego Technic pins and sticks to actually make it work. For example, right here on the front end, where you see they truly got the beauty of the G-Wagon in the squarish area right here, this part right here does not hold on whatsoever with the little red sticks provided by the company because they completely fall through the hole. So I actually had to use legitimate Lego Technic. Also, quality-wise, look at this. This completely barely holds on, and I actually tried to go under it and see if there's any kind of way I can possibly connect it together, and unfortunately there's no holes or beams that are left under there for you to not have this nasty shake. Now, that's not the only problem that's wrong with it. But wait, there's more. As we continue going on, it's definitely not a bad looking vehicle, especially you get a pretty good bang for the buck overall, but as I always say with these off-brand sets, you will pay a price in the long run. Now, as we look right there, it's not a necessarily bad view from the side. It actually looks pretty decent. But if you're wondering, hey Red, you're stupid, you left the front seat against the steering wheel. Well, guess what? When I was purchasing this item, I actually noticed the same exact thing on the photo, and I was thinking to myself, yo man, the seller is stupid. Why didn't he just move that seat? Because it looks ugly. Well, I'm going to show you right now. So as you can tell, mostly everything is functional in this Benz wagon, AWG, except there's a tiny little issue. If we zoom in right there, and if we take a look at that right there, basically this is a four-wheel drive, because don't forget, every G-Wagon must have a four-wheel drive, even if it's not branded by Lego. But basically what that means, the engines right here, the pistons are connected to the wheels in the front and the wheels in the back, so that way every time you move forward, as you can see, the pistons in the engine move. So for it to be a four-wheel drive, whoever designed it, they actually connected the front of the wheels to the rear of the wheels with this right there, and there is no possible way to actually put that back, because, well, then you would only have a front wheel drive. And there's a few options to avoid this. What you can do is you could just completely take out the chair if you still want it to be functional, or you could just completely take out that whole center and just have it a front wheel drive. In my case, because I'm not really using a remote control or anything like that, I should technically just rip it out and call it a day. But to be quite honest, anything that I do build, I do want it to be functioning, because personally it just makes you feel better when you do it. So on the other note, I just kept it the way it is, especially because the way that I set it up in my Lego room, you can barely notice that there's anything wrong with it, though that is definitely a huge fault on the design. And that's another big note why I always recommend to buy Lego sets apparent to saving money and going off-brand. But then believe me, if Lego did offer a set like this that was branded, it would probably cost roughly about $150, which I wouldn't mind spending my money on it. But at the end of the day, they don't really offer it, and that's why you have these kinds of issues as far as the drive shaft going right through the center, where you can't even put the front seat back. And on top of that, just to let you know, the rear doors, they do open, but at the moment it's being fidgety, it doesn't want to open. And to be quite honest, I do not want to break the door off, because most of the Lego sets or Technic sets that I do own that are branded by Lego, I would never mind taking them completely apart and putting them back together just to have fun. But this is one I just do not want to touch at all. It definitely looks cool when I have friends or family coming over and they tell me, oh man, I've never seen that on the Lego site, or I didn't know that exists. Well, guess what? It doesn't exist on the Lego site, simply because Lego doesn't make it, which makes it a little bit odd for me, because if you look at the design and the shape of the car, it actually really fits a Lego model. So I'm truly surprised why they've never actually made this into a branded model. And anyways, as we move away from the imperfections of this vehicle, let's go to something that's almost perfect. I know it's a little bit difficult to see in the actual camera itself, but it does have a very nice rear end, meaning it looks exactly like the Mercedes Benz G-Wagon AMG, meaning from the little lights at the bottom of the bumper all the way to the actual brake lights, they're completely realistic. Well, because if you think about it, the real lights on the real G-Wagon are exactly a 1x2 flat red brick, which is pretty cool. Definitely appreciate the little wheel that they added onto it. And just to let you guys know, it did come with stickers, but I will avoid that emblem right there. Even though if you think about it, it's pretty close to a real Mercedes Benz emblem. I'm not one to really put them on either way unless the car really needs it, so I sort of like the way that it sits right there. Now, one other really cool feature you guys are going to notice is something that Lego does absolutely not do, and I'm not sure why, but they just don't do it and they refuse to do it, is the chrome rims. Definitely the chrome rims, they give this very nice look. I'm not really a big fan of chrome to begin with in real life or on real life cars, nor am I in Technic or Lego, but I do feel like it does set it apart from other Technic sets. So if you guys are in the market to just try something new or try to see to add something to your collection, that something is different, definitely this is something to do and something to go with. But remember, you will only spend about $50. And let me just put a side note, there was a lot of different companies trying to sell this exact thing, and I've seen it online from $100 to $150, almost to $190. And don't be fooled, don't be mistaken, top price you should probably pay is not over $70, and I would even put a $59.99 cap max on this. Again, I purchased it myself for $49.99. I think that was a decent deal, but believe me, in the 6-hour build, it was not fun like normally how you have a lot of fun building Technic sets. You just don't have that fun. It's not even the instructions. The instructions are actually pretty okay, but it's the quality of the pieces. For example, the 919 porch that I bought a while back, my first off-branded Technic set, I could mix those pieces easily with the Technic and not know the difference. These, any extra spare parts, which I actually had quite a lot of spare parts on this vehicle, I keep completely separate. I even marked it as off-brand Mercedes Benz Technic, because I do not want to mix it with authentic Technic. Not just the color or anything, but like the pins that you use with the beams, they're absolutely horrible. Once you put them together, you can't take them apart, and just a lot of things don't line up. You got to manipulate it a lot just to get everything nice and done. So overall, for the actual build of this mock that somebody created and some companies ripping off completely, I'd probably give it a true 4.5 as far as the build out of a 10 rating, because as I said, it was not fun at all. It was a bit of a headache, and I didn't enjoy it. I definitely enjoy the way it looks. I definitely think it's pretty cool how it looks, but there's a lot of design flaws, and well, that's what you get with saving money and going off-brand, because if you ever buy a branded Lego, you will never have a drivetrain going through the middle of it, or you're not going to have a chair that sits in the steering wheel, nor would you have this nasty flap the way that it is. Just in general, Lego, it takes pride and care in all of their products, and you would never see anything as horrible as you see in this. But again, for me, it just sits right in its shelf, and it looks very nice, and it does look unique. So if you want to get it as just as a almost like a die-cast car that just sits around and does nothing, it's probably a really good buy if you're willing to go through the headache of building it. So I put a few branded sets next to the G-Wagon right there so you could actually really see the size of it. It's definitely in the 1300 piece range, so it definitely is much bigger than the ZR1 Corvette to the right, which is only in the mid 500 range. It's also larger than the blue car on the left, which is part of the car carrier set that I just received, and it's this very large truck, 18-wheeler truck, that you can fit about 4 of the ZR1 Corvette size. And just a side note, the blue car on the left and the ZR1 Corvette to the right have the same exact wheelbase, and it even shows that if you own the Corvette, you should be putting it on that big truck. But not to get too far off subject, you could definitely see that the 1300 piece count definitely dwarfs down the ZR1 to the right, and I don't know what that car is to the left. I sort of want to say that it's a Camaro, but I don't think Lego licensed it as a Camaro, so they don't have to pay the extra change to Chevrolet, though it really truly does. Then to the left we have a SLS AMG, which is part of the Speed Champions collection, and to the right we got one of the favorite rides, which basically reminds me of an old school Cadillac Lolo, and I would say that this is the car of Batman's nemesis, aka Joker. So as you can see, overall it does and is much larger than the ones that it's sitting next to, but don't let me fool you, because it is definitely not the largest set. As you can see, when we put a legitimate, real Lego branded set, we can definitely tell that there is a major difference. Not only is the black on the Technic set much clearer, much more shiny than it is on the Benz G500 wagon, but also the size. And you know what the funniest part about both of these vehicles are? Not the fact that the one on the left is $50 and the one on the right is $150, but if you look at the piece count between the G-Wagon and the Porsche, they're about the same. I want to say the Porsche is maybe 200 to 300 more pieces than the actual G-Wagon, but as you can tell, the size difference is completely phenomenal. I mean, it's almost double the size. It's definitely not nearly as tall as it, but still overall it's much wider. The wheelbase is much further, and in general, you could just see how much better a Lego product looks than an aftermarket brand. Now, overall, this is not an absolute horrible set. As I said, the first thing that gets me on it is definitely the price on it. It's a very legitimate price. As I said, the quality is not the quality that you expect from a Lego set or anything like that. But, you know, if you're pretty decent in building Technic sets and you're okay with having a migraine or two during the process, it's definitely a pretty decent buy. As I said, my build process out of a 10, I would give it about a 4.5, and I do feel that's me being very nice. As far as the looks, it's easy to give it a 9 or a 10, and considering its little flap right here, I would probably give the looks right around an 8. We could give it a B- just because, well, there's a lot of more things that could have been a bit better on it, but again, when it's not Lego creating the product, you cannot expect to have just a bar of platinum, literally, or gold, or anything like that. This is definitely probably below bronze when it's compared to all of the kind of different golds and jewels out there. But in general, it's not that bad. As I said, the build was and the looks are pretty much worth the build because it's much different than anything that Lego offers. Again, I would never recommend an off-brand set over a Lego set, but in this case, Lego simply doesn't buy it. Now, if they did make an off-brand, or I'm sorry, a branded version of this, I wouldn't mind paying the $150 for the actual set. Now, another thing, if you guys are truly looking to purchase this, I'm going to tell you right away, I will not recommend adding a Lego electric motor. Though, as you can see, it does run, it is functional. You do not want to add the motor. Number one reason, you saw how flappy that front end is. First time you hit anything, it's going to disintegrate most likely. Number two, whenever the engine moves, there's a lot of moving parts inside of this that actually hit other plastic pieces, whether it's the two fans hitting the seat or just the way that it was created. Again, a mock is my own creation. It's somebody who takes apart a real set and then makes their own set out of it. So, none of this has been refined. Even when you go through Lego Ideas before they actually put out your set, they're gonna go over it with the way they do it. They're gonna make sure that everything is perfect, that there's no problems at all, that there's no reason to recall any kind of item, because, well, Lego, they have a brand and they care about it, and they truly put every kind of detail that they can to make sure every single item that comes out from them is absolutely perfect. In this case, you do not get that. The exact name of this company, I don't even know, but as you can see, they absolutely rip off Technic in a really big part, because this is called Technic, not Technic. If you're looking for the item number, I didn't even think this had an item number. 701960, 1343 pieces, Benz G500, and Benz 500. That's what you get. But as I said, as long as you get this for a decent price, it's not that bad or horrible of a deal. Just truly be careful. There are so many sellers out there, including on Amazon, that are trying to sell this off at a $149.99. And I'm sorry, but if you paid $150 for this, it is an absolute ripoff. As I said, probably paying anything over $50 wouldn't really say it's a great idea, but lately I have been seeing it for around $69.99. As I've seen, it's probably growing in popularity, because when I purchased this, I think there was only like one review. Now there's like 5 or 6. So it's definitely getting a little bit more popular as time goes, but truly be careful. You don't want to spend more than, I would say, $70 would be the cap. Now, you can go to another alternative. There's sites like Alibaba and stuff like that where you can order directly from the manufacturer, and I've actually seen this set for as low as $25. Yes, $24.99. Now, there's 2 issues with that. If you go through a site like that, the first issue is you have to wait anywhere from between 30 days to 60 days, upwards of 90 days to actually get your item. On top of that, the biggest issue is you have to order several units, whether it's 3, 4, or 5. Remember that $25 now is going to be either $50, $75, $100, and so forth. But again, I just wanted to give you guys my opinion, my review on this. It's definitely not a bad looking truck. I'm really surprised that Lego actually hasn't picked this up personally, because all of the lines that fall into the G-Wagon are absolutely Lego. I mean, you could literally even throw out all the Technic pieces and literally build this car out of all standard building blocks, which actually gives me a pretty good idea to do on my off time. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys have any questions, anything at all, please feel free to ask me. But this was the review of not the Technic, but the Technic Benz, B-A-N-Z, G500, and not AMG, but AWG. Hope you guys enjoyed, and you guys have a wonderful night.